You are listening to NOAA weather radio station KIH34, broadcasting on a frequency of 162.40 megahertz. The station is operated by the National Weather Service in Oxnard, California, and transmits from a tower on Broadcast Peak near Santa Barbara, California. Here is the latest weather synopsis. High pressure over the region will maintain very warm temperatures through much of the coming week, especially away from the coast and across the interior portions of the area. Gusty northerly winds will develop once again tonight across southern Santa Barbara County and through the Interstate 5 corridor. A gradual cooling trend will develop late in the week. At 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Monday, June 16th, these were the conditions. At Santa Barbara Airport, haze was reported. The temperature was 69 and the relative humidity 65%. The wind was southeast at 10 miles an hour. The pressure was 29.87 inches and falling. At Santa Maria, it was sunny. The temperature was 66 and the relative humidity 56%. The wind was west at 18 miles an hour. The pressure was 29.98 inches and falling. At Lompoc, it was sunny. The temperature was 66. At Oxnard, it was sunny. The temperature was 70. At Camarillo, it was sunny. The temperature was 76. At Point Mugu, haze was reported. The temperature was 72. At Los Angeles Airport, it was sunny. The temperature was 74. Here is the surf forecast for the Ventura County beaches. Moderate with current risk. This afternoon through Tuesday, with current risk, moderate. Surf height 2 to 4 feet with local sex to 5 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Water temperature 62 to 64 degrees. Tide, high tide 4.6 feet at 2:16 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 0.1 feet at 9:39 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide 4.1 feet at 4:46 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 2.5 feet at 10:08 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks: looks west swell and south swell. Wednesday, with current risk, moderate. Surf height 2 to 4 feet with local sets to 5 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Tide, high tide 4.0 feet at 3:29 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 0.5 feet at 10:25 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide 4.6 feet at 5:29 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 2.0 feet at 11:48 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks: looks west swell and south swell. Here is the surf forecast for the Santa Barbara County Southeastern coast and Santa Barbara County Southwestern coast. This afternoon through Tuesday, with current risk, low. Surf height 1 to 3 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Water temperature around 63 degrees. Tide, high tide 4.5 feet at 2:35 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 0.1 feet at 10:01 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide 4.2 feet at 5:10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 2.5 feet at 10:35 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks: west swell. Wednesday, with current risk, low. Surf height 1 to 3 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Tide, high tide 3.9 feet at 3:50 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 0.5 feet at 10:46 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide 4.6 feet at 5:50 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 1.9 feet at 11:12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks: west swell. Here is the surf forecast for the Santa Barbara County Central Coast beaches. This afternoon through Tuesday, surf height 3 to 6 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Water temperature 52 to 54 degrees. Tide, high tide 4.4 feet at 3 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide minus 0.0 feet at 10:26 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide 4.2 feet at 5:36 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide 2.5 feet at 11:09 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks: south swell. Wednesday, surf height 4 to 7 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. tide. High tide, 3.9 feet at 4:16 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide, 0.4 feet at 11:09 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide, 4.7 feet at 6:12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide, 1.8 feet at 11:35 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remark, South swell. The following is a summary of watches, warnings, and advisories in effect. Wind advisory has been extended until 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time Tuesday and expanded to include the following area. In California, Santa Ynez Mountains Eastern Range, a wind advisory remains in effect until 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time Tuesday for the Santa Barbara County Southwestern Coast and Santa Ynez Mountains Western Range.